All right, mate, I can predict your future. I'm not joking. I can predict your future. And here's how I would do it. I would take hidden cameras and I would put them all around your house. Okay, it's a bit weird now, but I guarantee you, if I did this, I would be able to look at just one metric and I would be able to tell you, like a crystal ball looking into the future, what your future is going to look like. Whether you're going to work a job you don't like for a person you don't like, wake up to a person you don't like, right? Wake up to a woman you don't like, a wife you can barely stand, barely tolerate, a life you can barely tolerate, where you're basically just watching Netflix as your only source of comfort. This all might sound like an exaggeration, but I guarantee you, I work with men all the time, and some men are living those kinds of lives. And the reason why I'm twisting the knife a little bit is because I want you to understand the urgency of this problem. The thing I would look at the most is your habits. That is the crystal ball. That is the thing that I would look at to determine, if I was a betting man chucking money on the table, where your life's going to end up. You know this already. You are already watching shitloads of self-development content, but your problem is that you don't implement it, right? I'm not just picking on you. We all do this. Implementation is the biggest problem, which is the reason why I've made this video today. Because this video, I'm going to give you the 5 habits, the unconventional habits that you won't read about anywhere else, because I'm not just going to tell you to lift weights and read a book. That stuff's been done to death. Because the 5 habits I'm going to share with you in this video, very practical, these are the habits that allowed me personally to go from a dude who was working a job I didn't like, for a guy I didn't like. I was living in a place I didn't like. I couldn't travel anywhere. I wasn't earning the money that I wanted to, and I was pretty goddamn lonely with poor mental health and self-esteem. It was a train wreck, right? But by implementing these 5 things, plus time, I was able to free myself financially, location, with my time. I don't have a boss anymore. I travel around all over the place, and my mental health, my emotional health is on point. And mate, I want the same for you. So habit number 1, we are all chronically online now. And I believe that this is crippling our social skills. Back in 1990, 3% of men said that they had no close friends. It was very unusual to have no close friends. In 2021, they ran the same poll, and that shot up to 15%. 15% of guys said we have no close friends. And it's also a bit tricky because Harvard, it's not like friendships and relationships don't matter. In fact, Harvard did a study, a longevity study on the effect of relationships on a person's health. And what they found was pretty damn shocking, pretty scary to some of us introverted, socially awkward types, is that the strongest determining factor for how healthy a person was and how long he lived was the quality of his relationships. Now, if you just heard that and that made you feel like a sense of dread, don't worry, because there is a habit, just one small habit, that will change the course of your relationship future forever if you do it. And that is talking small talk with strangers. These sort of what I call micro interactions. If you're just in a coffee shop, you have an opportunity to say hello to the barista and ask them how the day's going. If you're getting your groceries, you've got an opportunity to say hello to the cashier, ask them how the day's doing, how are you? And actually be with them present in the moment. Just by doing this habit, you become like water shaping rock. Over time, you become a social creature. And becoming a social creature, not only does it help you in terms of your mental well-being, but it also opens up so many opportunities for you in your life. Habit number 2, you, in this moment, have a superpower that is available to you right now. You don't need any money to access it. You don't need anything external to yourself whatsoever. There is a catch though, there's a problem. This superpower, in order to obtain it, is pretty uncomfortable. In fact, most people would do just about anything to avoid obtaining it, including giving themselves electric shocks. The University of Virginia once ran a study where they got a bunch of people and they wanted to test the effects of solitude and how tolerable solitude was to people, how we can either be alone with ourselves or not. So what they did was got a bunch of people, and one at a time they put them in a room alone. And in that room they had 2 options. Option 1, sit there with your thoughts alone for anywhere between 6 and 15 minutes. Option 2, press this button. You're hooked up to an electric shock device, and if you press the button, you're going to get a shock. And this isn't just any shock, by the way. This is a shock where the participants mentioned that they would actually pay money to avoid it. So it wasn't just a little psst, it was like a proper shock. The results of this study were pretty damn mind-blowing. 67% of men chose to shock themselves, sometimes repeatedly, instead of sitting alone with their thoughts. One dude even shocked himself a grand total of 190 times in a 15-minute period. That is a dude who does not want to be alone with his thoughts. This is a problem, because solitude is a goddamn superpower. The ability to sit in silence with yourself is one of the most important things that you can do for your mental well-being, for your direction in life, for knowing who you are, for knowing where you want to go, for actually authentically understanding yourself, and also for creativity. If you're a creator, you want to build a business or something, you get paid in relation to how valuable your ideas are and how well you're able to communicate them. But if you're never alone and you're constantly just plugged into everyone else, you don't have access to original thoughts and genuinely valuable things to contribute to society. And your income and your business success and everything will reflect that. Practice solitude. Habit number 3. Have you ever been to a rave or a music festival? If you have, then you'll know that there's always at least one dude near the speakers at the front of the crowd with his top off, sweating, and is really, really into it. That guy used to be me. I used to be fully about that life, about raving, about festivals, I was a proper hippie, right? And I just really enjoyed moving my body in a really uninhibited way. Dancing, I lived for it. That's all I lived for a period of like 2 years straight. And the thing is though, while it was fun in the moment, there was actually something else going on under the surface that I wasn't aware of. And to explain this, I came across a recent idea about trauma. And that's the idea that trauma is an interruption, a disruption of flow. You're enjoying life, then bam, something painful happens that locks your body into a fear state that automatically leaves its mark on your mind, and now you're just observing and in a fear state. What I was doing by dancing and free moving, I was literally dancing the trauma out of my body. But how does this relate to you? You know what to do, you just don't do it. You know, right? Am I telling the truth? You know what to do, you just don't do it. Why is that? Well, I believe we all carry some form of trauma in our system. This is the reason why a guy can live the same year, 10 times over the course of 10 years. He doesn't live 10 years, he lives the same year 10 times. Why? Because trauma has disrupted his mind and it's got him stuck into a fear state where he's living reactively and is repeating the exact same defense mechanisms and habits over the course of years, and nothing ever changes. Dancing gets you into your body, dances the trauma out of your system, allows you to retain and regain that flow that allows you to be creative, that allows you to enjoy different types of thoughts instead of the same repetitive negative ones. If you want to be the best version of yourself, prioritize a form of movement, free movement or dance. This doesn't have to be taking shitloads of drugs and going to a rave. You don't have to do that. Take up a salsa class. Do an interesting dance-based martial art like capoeira, for example. Or go to one of these ecstatic dance events that keep popping up in all these cities now. They exist for that reason. Habit number 4. Mike was a former client of mine, and he came to me because he was socially anxious and he procrastinated on his goals for years. He wanted to become a copywriter, but he could never actually implement the habits that would require him to make that a career for himself. So we started working together. I gave him all the usual exercises, the meditations, the resources, and the stuff that usually works to help bring a guy out of his shell. But with Mike, it wasn't working. There was something not quite adding up. Until one session, I started asking him about his digital habits. And what we determined was, this guy is chronically online. He was working as a software developer at the time, so he would spend all day staring at his screen. And then in the evening, he would be on Reddit and Discord and YouTube. And then if he did, by some miracle, get out of the house, his phone would be glued to his hand and he would be listening to things on headphones like podcasts and whatnot. What I said straight away is like, mate, we are going to DEF CON 4. You are going to break up with your phone. and I gave him the book, How to Break Up With Your Phone. I'll link it in the description below, but we followed the protocols. Basically, he broke up with his phone and unplugged from the internet. And what he noticed was he was more focused, he was more clear on a direction, he procrastinated a lot less. Not only that, as he was walking about, because I also asked him to go outside every day, he noticed that women were looking at him in his direction. He was like, oh my God, I'm actually being noticed. It was easier for him to talk. He was more talkative, he didn't overthink what he was saying as much. He experienced, along with all the other work we did, a complete turnaround because he tamed his digital habits. So if you want those same benefits, I genuinely believe that you should tame your digital habits. Social media is not bad or good, it's just dependent on how you use it. But if you are addicted to your phone, I'm being serious, you absolutely need to reel that in because that is affecting your life in way more ways than I have time to talk about here, for example. Habit number 5. I first started writing back in 2015 because I was going through a breakup. In fact, I still have the journal. I used an online tool called Penzu, and I actually have the first journal entry here. I'm going to read you a snippet. Listen to this. So I've dreamt about her for the past couple of nights. Must have somehow been my subconscious saying something to me. Maybe that I missed her or something. Made me even more bastard confused than I already was, to be honest. So I was quite the wordsmith, as you can tell. Journaling like that helped me through the breakup, but I didn't know it at the time, and I couldn't have known it at the time. But in that process, I was actually building a skill that was going to make me a tremendous amount of money one day and was going to allow me to live a lifestyle that I never dreamed possible for myself. If I had known back then that it was going to allow me to build a business, never have a boss again, and live a life of just beautiful freedom, then I wouldn't have skipped a single day of journaling. So if you're a man who wants to rid himself of subconscious fears, limiting beliefs, trauma, the emotional stuff that keeps you stuck, procrastinating on your dreams and never actually taking any action, and along the way, you want to build a skill that is the most important skill you can build for building an online business, definitely, then write. For God's sake, write. Start writing in a journal. It is by far the single most important habit that you can build, because there are plenty of people out there who want to become copywriters, but they can't even write about their own life in an engaging way. So in order to do that, in order to get started with this, click this video next, because that's going to give you a bit of the foundation with how to get started with that particular habit. Also, check out the link in my description below because I've created a free tool, a free cheeky little goodie for you to help you do just that. Mate, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.